How's it going, YouTube? Coming to you today with another video. And today, guys, what to bring to you is an in-depth look at Dragon Link with my friend Sam Nguyen. Go ahead and introduce yourself. I know that you've done really well in a lot of tournaments, so let's talk about that.
Okay. So my name is Sam Nguyen, and I am a pretty competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player. I play for the team Pandora's Prodigies. I have quite a few regional top eights, ARG tops. Recently, because of COVID, there hasn't really been a lot of Konami events. I'm not a big fan of remote tournaments, so I played a lot of case tournaments lately with some of the best players in Michigan. And I've been doing pretty well in those, and I've pretty much exclusively been playing Dragon Link the entire time.
Yeah, you actually just got a win at a case tournament just about a week ago, right?
I did. I got this neat little first place trophy. Keep it on my computer desk. Love this thing.
Gotta love that. And I see that you got a card shop you usually play at already on the shirt too, repping it out.
Yep. Fun for all game comics and games in Ann Arbor. Store I grew up in. Love it.
That's always great. Yeah, we like, especially in Michigan, it's such a big group, honestly. And people play everywhere. There's so many card shops, so it's really nice just to be able to go where you need to. And I've been to Even Fun for all before. It's a good shop.
All right. Yeah. No, there's absolutely like a huge community here for Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm been very lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, especially like you're saying too, like just on like a random night, Eternal can get like 60 people, so it's just crazy.
Well, 60 people locals.
Yeah. So I do appreciate you coming out today. We're gonna be talking a lot about Dragon Link because there is such a big interest behind it right now, especially because the deck is actually really solid, especially when it goes against like the Prankin matchup. I feel like that matchup is very easy for Dragon, especially because Seal's tiding against the normal Summon of the Kid.
Yeah.
Very big fan of that. And then just in general, I feel like Dragon just has a lot of very not linear lines of play and a lot of things you just kind of have to know on the fly, as most of the hands feel more like fish bowls. How would you say your Dragon experience has been so far, especially this format?
So yeah, Dragon is like the ultimate fishbowl deck. Like there's no like straight linear line of play or like you're supposed to do one thing or the other. It all is completely dependent on which hand you have, and which starters and stuff. You have to make like different decisions based on what hand traps or what disruptions you can lose to. So you always have to be cognizant of like, certain lines lose to Gamma, certain lines lose to Ash, etc. I would say this format has actually been a really good format for Dragons. I think that it's gotten a lot of tools that can kind of really help it separate from the rest of the pack. I think that this format is kind of like very predicated on high ceiling mid range decks, and I think that Dragon is like really good at playing like a mid range game. So I know a lot of people have like tried different bigger strategies with it. I myself have been like pretty much playing a very vanilla, very basic like mid-range style. So a lot of my turns are like seals pass with like tidying or like a couple of hand traps, and I think that that's like worked really well. Although I've messed around with a lot of the different techs that players have been looking into, like Distrudo into making shooting riser to send snow or Brotar. There's also like the vampire zombie vampire lines of play that people are doing now with Pepega Ruler, so they can mill 9 cards. I think there's a lot of places for Dragon right now, both in terms of innovation and then in terms of like just its standalone playstyle really complements the format.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of Dragon too. It's also like one of those decks that isn't even that expensive at the end of the day too, so that's really cool as well if you're looking for a good option for something that isn't brave price, right? So it's super nice. Big fan of this. I have a lot of questions, not like a lot of questions, but definitely some that I really want to ask you, just from a viewer point of view and things that we've been seeing in the format and things that they might have questions about as well. So the first thing that I want to bring up though is when you see your average dragon list, I feel like one of the biggest talked about questions is going to be if you want to play Access Code or Boral Sword or both. What's your opinion on that?
So when it comes to playing those cards, I think that because the deck is a fishbowl deck, essentially it utilizes its extra deck as a toolbox. So you want options for every situation that you can come across, and I think that both of them actually come up relatively equally, especially so like I was generally more of a fan of Boral Sword for a while because if you fail OTKs or it can you can use Boral Sword to get over boards. You can make seals with it, whereas like Axis Code Talker just kind of sits on your board. But I found like with this format because there's kind of like because of skill drain bringing it three, as much as I hate that card. Axis Code Talker has the neat niche of being able to slip under skill drain by banishing itself for cost to destroy it or destroy another card if you don't need to like get rid of the skill drain. So I would say that like now, especially this format, that both cards come up relatively equally. There's a couple of other flex cards that like would be a luxury to play, but I think that the Dragon list generally play other flex cards that you can take out in place of them. Cards like Triple Burst Dragon or Halki Fibrax. I know that a lot of people have asked me like why I play those two cards specifically because a lot of Dragon lists can generally go without playing them. But it's just situations that come up for me personally.
Yeah, I really like the Hulk of Fibrax being able to summon out like the Synchron. If you're in a bad situation, then you will go Synchron to the Striker, and just like keep extending. I think it's just really nice for the deck and just another really good way to link climb.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's also a really good out to Tikaboo, because you can like go any hand trap in and a dragon to go to Hulk, which then can go into like another hand trap. So it's a good out to Tikaboo. It also allows you to get lights from your deck, so like Gamma or Valor if you play that, or Ogre. So it helps when you're light starved too, which I think is really strong.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point as well because there is a lot of banishing that we do in the deck. Just kind of moving in from that question though, there's definitely a new player in the field that we're seeing coming out in the next couple months, and that's going to be with the Elbe Structure deck. And so this is actually really insane because we're getting the opportunity to contact fuse an entire dragon board. So the ability to bounce cards in Dragon has been pretty prevalent though. So although they can set Albaz on the board and then just contact fuse away, we still have cards like Tiding. There's a lot of people who said the deck's gonna die because of this. What do you think?
I don't necessarily think so. The deck makes really varied boards for the most part. So I think that like I said, the deck actually functions as just like a mid-range style deck. So I think that just like doing seals pass is generally enough to win games, as much of a meme as that is. It's the FTK.
Yeah.
I think that, and then you still generally can counter it with like basic like removal or disruptions, things like Effect Veiler, Impermanence. Those things are still really prevalent in our meta because of Sword Soul being one of the top decks. So I don't think that like you just instantly die because like an out to the dragon board exists. Because like an out to the dragon board already exists if people want to like hard commit to it. You can super poly into Borreload Furious Dragon, which I know a lot of people were thinking of doing back when. Oh, hello, little cameo from my cat. But yeah, so like I think that those kinds of outs already existed if you really wanted to utilize them. But I think that dragon's just not prevalent enough a player in the meta for you to hard commit to playing like miscellaneous decks and playing hard outs to dragon. And also I think that dragon can adapt accordingly depending on like how prevalent those outs become.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love cards like Tiding in the deck. I think that if that becomes an issue, then we just start playing more Tiding, like two chamber, three Tiding, which is equally fine because we were never having a problem with that in the deck. So another thing too is like you were saying is that playing the irrelevant deck, which I think that Fallen of Albaz with Branded Fusion does get very good in that format, but I still don't think that it would be the be-all end-all deck, and there's going to be other things out there, and the odds that they're actually siding Fallen of Albaz for you is very slim, especially if Dragon isn't like way up there as one of the best decks. So I don't really think it's going to be that big of an issue. I think that it's cool that they have that, but I really don't think anything's just going to randomly die because of it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think at best, yeah, there's the Albaz deck, which I think is like pretty mid. I would view it like in the same vein as like Invoked, Shaddoll, Dogmatica. So like I don't think it'll be like such a prevalent player that you have to worry about a main deck out to dragons. I think that other dragon players could experiment with that depending on how prevalent like the mirror match and stuff becomes. But like I said, I think Super Poly into Furious Dragon or even Starving Venom was already a better out and loses to less stuff like Effect Veiler or Imperm. So like the fact that people aren't heavily doing that already, I think speaks to the fact that like people just don't really view Dragon as like a deck that you have to full send for and play cards committed to just one matchup.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people too who are doing the Fallen of Albez, and they'll do that off of their Heretic Seal, and they'll summon it, and then they'll go into Albion Dragon, and they'll go Albion Dragon into Boral Furious. So I personally don't even think that's correct. I don't really think it's that good in the deck because there's other things you can summon, like we were talking about before with like the Chamber, just being able to summon that from the deck and get a free tiding for the extender or the bounce. Like I just feel like that's inherently better right now, especially. So I just don't know how big of a hitter this is going to be in the new format.
Yeah, I don't think it should be so. I don't think it should be too prevalent. So I don't think it's something that like Dragon players should worry about too much.
So we've been talking a bit about like cool techs and things that you can play. The next one I want to talk about is going to be that Dark-Armed Dragon, the Xseed. Have you had any experience with this card yet? And do you think it's going to be that good in the deck moving forward?
I play tested the card like extensively because I love Darkarm Dragon. When I first started playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, it was around Teledead format. So like that card actually has like a special place in my heart. I think that it actually does have some viability in the format and like in the deck in general. It all boils down to what flex cards you can and can't live without because like one of the strongest interactions with the Dark Arm card is not necessarily being able to like just put it over any card to destroy a card, but you can put it over Pepega Ruler. So being able to like reset your Pepega Ruler back into the graveyard is insane. You're giving yourself follow up. You have a card that destroys cards. It's a dragon, so you can link it into seals. So I think that, and it also is an XYZ monster, which is
Yep.
important because it's not a link monster. So you can, so it's someone from the extra deck, so you can pop it with Striker Dragon when you're done with it, or you can link it off into IP Masquerena, which the deck like sometimes has an awkward time doing. So,
Or make
uh,
Zeus.
or make Zeus. I've tested that too. That didn't come up nearly as much, but I do like that idea.
Uh,
But I think that I think that the Dark Arm card is good, but I think it's kind of in that Halki Fibrax triple burst spot where like if you play it, you're gonna have to cut like a flex situational card that doesn't like that also doesn't come up super often. But I wouldn't cut like any of the main cards in the deck for it, obviously.
So while we're on the topic of using cool Xyz monsters, let's talk about the zombie vampire for a minute, and let's talk about the interactions with Dark.
Well, so that card is insane. Like about half the reason I personally play Dragon is to mill five with Pepega Ruler. I think it is. I think it's an amazing card. It's easily my favorite card in the deck. Zombie Vampire has the added benefit of not only being able to additionally mill to like extend combos or like you can do cool interactive things like you can if you mill DPE cards then your opponent can't they can't do Destiny Fusion off the top of their deck. If you mill Griffin Rider, then that prevents people from being able to make Brave plays. Obviously, it's really unfortunate if you like mill Phantom Knight cards, but like you know,
It'd be
but I
like
think that
that.
card is really, I think that card is really cool though. Again, has it's the same interaction as the Dark Armed XYZ, where it lets you reset your Pepega Ruler in the graveyard by detaching it after you've brought it back with its own effect. And a lot of better players than myself, I think, have theoried with the card. I think that a lot of people are testing it right now. I know Samuel Chung, I believe, just topped an event with it. And then a lot of like Dragon players that I know have been playing the card pretty extensively. Like I myself still play the deck like very basic, very mid-rangey, but I do like the fact that it like also combos with a lot of different cards. Like not only Levy in the deck, which is naturally played, but you can like play Galactic Spiral Serpent, I believe, with
Yep.
Dragon's Ravine, so that sends a level 8 monster. And again, it has the it would normally get banished, but because you're putting it underneath an XYZ monster, it's giving you even more follow-up. So by making Zombie Vampire, not only are you getting to mill more cards to see more extenders, you're putting both Galactic Spiral Serpent and Pega back in the graveyard as follow-up for next turn, and you're getting another extender on the board through its effect to extend combos and plays. So I think the card has a huge amount of potential. And the interaction with the Dark Charmer, where if you're using any one of your opponent's monsters to make it, you can treat it as a level 8 monster is insane. Because being able to just like Dark Charmer any dark monster out of your opponent's graveyard and stack it with Pega to make it's absolutely insane.
See, for those of you who don't know, Sam is also an avid striker player like myself. And so it's ours. No matter what deck you're playing, it's our monsters. That never changes.
That's true. It's our graveyard.
Yeah. So gotta love that. Really cool interaction. Being able to again just a reborn monster and use it as free material, because it just becomes an 8 at that point. So it's really nice to be able to use with this, and it's a really nice interaction for the deck. Definitely something I wanted to bring up here. The other thing that I want to talk about, though, is we saw something very unique back when Smoke Grenade was a thing. And we started playing 60 card or 50 card Dragon decks, and this actually became the standard, the norm. Do you think that now you could do like a 60 card or a 50 card hand trap plus Brave list, or just play like a line and a half of hand traps and like 40 Dragon cards? Or like, what do you really think that you could do with that? Or do you think that it's just better to stick with the 40?
So, this is a pretty big like point of contention, I think, for a lot of people, because oh gosh, the Dragon deck right now is a very it's a very flexible toolbox deck. So like playing 50 cards or 60 cards even works theoretically. The only issue with it is that you have to see a combination of impactful hand traps, because Scythe is an FTK and the card is still, it is essentially dictating our meta, because Phantom Knight makes up like it is the best deck in the game right now. So like because of Phantom Knight Brave existing and losing automatically to Scythe, you have to see cards that are impactful like Gamma, Lancia, Nibiru. So I think that because of literally just because of Scythe, you have to play the fewer number of cards in your deck to be able to see the more impactful cards against certain matchups. But if it weren't for that, I think that the reason that the Dragon list worked before with 50 or 60 cards is because we were in like break my board formats. So like you could, as long as you were just seeing like any cards, you could just extend past most boards for the most part. You were playing lots of bricks because the combo was just so much more impactful. Being able to like smoke grenade Dark Ruler no mores and like Nibiru's out of your opponent's hand or force hand traps was just so strong that you were willing to like take the trade off of making your deck less consistent. I don't think that we have tools like that now in Dragons, where like playing a combination of cards in our main deck increases our ceiling so dramatically that you have to play a lot more cards in the deck.
Right.
So it's neat. Like we have neat tools. Like you have like the Rose Dragon line of plays. I think those cards are really good extenders. I think they're really good combo starters. You can play Snow and stuff like that. But I think that it's not impactful enough that you have to play things like 50 or 60 cards.
That's fair. I just thought it was really cool because this is something where we used to play a ton of hand traps, and we just wanted to play like 40, 50 cards, even up to 60, where it just became almost a whole different deck. And it was really fun to see that, and just kind of looking at implications of that this format. It is unfortunate when Scythe is the card, and so you have to really rely on seeing those hand traps. But I still think that it's something really neat to know for those of you who may not know that this used to be like the standard.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's like an added benefit, because like obviously having Scythe in the format helps streamline the format. So like the cards that you're playing are more like standard and dictated. So I think it makes for cleaner deck building and more technical play.
Yep.
But the downside, I think, is it takes away innovation, because you are essentially forced to play around Scythe or die.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure. Scythe is such a card, right?
It's I don't know how it's not banned.
So we're gonna be looking at your list now from the case tournament. So this is actually really nice though that we see, just it's a very compacted list. It looks very, like you were talking about, streamlined, where you have basically the typical hand traps. You don't see Valor in the main deck, or Imperm, but you do see the Ogres because of things like Griffin Rider. Ash is just insane in this format because of the fact that you can go ahead and Ash that Temple of Enchantress, which is super good to be able to shut down the Brave Engine. Then you have the Nibiru at 2, which we usually see at 1 in the Dragon list. I understand why it's at 2 though, because again, you need 2 hand traps to start shutting down the boards that you see, especially with the Brave deck. And then having Gamma in there, I feel like Gamma is always just the best thing in the world if you can play it.
Yeah, I think that Gamma is like generally just always the best hand trap in the game. So any deck that can utilize Gamma is like a deck that I personally like playing, because I think the card is just insanely impactful.
How many times with the case tournament did you go Gamma into your Chaos base?
Um, I think like like maybe two times. I actually there's just, like I actually came up with the interact, or not came up, but it came up more so that I had like Gamma Lancia, which is essentially an FTK, because you can like Gamma your opponent, then Lancia them, or Lancia then chain Gamma if they like have a hand trap or if they try to like set up a disruption like Anaconda or something.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then like at the end phase, the Gamma and the Driver will stay, which allows you to make Pega without even normal summoning yet, and you put a buttload of lights and darks in your graveyard without doing anything. So
So good.
yeah, it isn't that play I think is actually better than the Chaos Space Gamma play because that play like guarantee also shuts down your opponent's turn going second.
Yeah, that's really good actually. I didn't think about that. That's really good.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely see a couple things in here too that we have kind of seen in the past already. But when we talk about using like the black metal dragon in here, um, we probably don't see that a whole lot in many lists currently, but we will be seeing that soon. I also see a lot of that in like the brave list. How do you feel about like the brave cards in dragon?
So I do think that the cards are not bad. Obviously, like Dragon is not a very normal summon effect reliant deck. A lot like Phantom Knight, where Seafort essentially acts like Torn Scales. Not only is it an extender in itself, but it is by itself can be a normal summoned one card starter. But because it is just a dragon, you can also link it into Striker the same way. Like Torn Scales is a level 3, so even if you don't use its effect, you can just turn it into Cherubini and then bring it back again, then use its effect that way. So I think that it functions relatively the same. I think that the Brave cards are really good, but I don't think that it adds a lot to Dragon. I think that when you're playing decks like Brave PK or Brave Prank Kid, one of the biggest motivators for playing the Brave engine is to become Nibiru proof, which I think that Dragon already naturally does that really well by making seals pretty early. Like I think that a lot of people sometimes will make like incorrect lines of play where they're trying to like force through their like chaos rulers or synchro and stuff really early. The biggest thing for me is always securing seals before I commit any like extra resources to the board, so that I know that if something goes wrong, that I will always have follow up or I'll be able to like end on a disruption, so I don't just like pass on nothing.
Yeah, being able to go seals into your red MD or someone to something back and like keep going, it's really strong. Big fan of that for sure. Other than that, is there anything else that you saw in the deck that really overperformed in the case tourney or like has been in testing?
I mean, like I said, I think that a lot of players are kind of looking to increase the ceiling of the deck, which I think it can do because the deck is like already naturally so consistent to a degree. Because like any two dragon cards make seals, which is already like a play. So like anything else kind of acts itself as like natural extenders. I would say that my list is like not it is not it's not reinventing the wheel. It is very standard. I think I think it's a lot like Sky Striker actually, where like it's functioning like a mid-range deck, and like you're not changing a lot about the deck. You're not like innovating anything, but the minute choices that you're making are really impactful because they're important. So like the few cards that you are changing are you're doing so because you're catering it to the format or like to your own play style, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I also think it's really cool that Brotar came back on the deck because that's something that got cut for a long time.
Yeah, I know that there's a couple of like questions I had where like people asked me was one, why do I play Brotar? I think Brotar trades really well into the format right now. There's a lot of traps. Battle Butler and Blackout and even the Phantom Knight cards like Break Sword DPE. I think there's a lot of destruction in the format, and then Brotar allows you to try to extend past boards. It's actually especially impactful when you have it in just your hand because it summons from either hand or graveyard, and it acts as a play without having to go into the extra deck or like it gives you an extender that doesn't need to be normal summoned. Like you can search Collapse Serpent with it. So I think that that card is like really important right now. It's generally my primary seals target. If not that, then Chamber. Also, people have asked me why I don't play droplets. I think that most optimized lines of play now, especially in Phantom Knight, are built to play around droplets, like by DPEing, popping Anaconda, and popping Fogblade. So now you can't really just break the Phantom Knight board with just droplets. You need droplets paired with another card, which two impactful hand traps also works to like breaking boards. But these have the added benefit of one, not like costing me cards in my hand because I need more cards to like be able to break the board. And two, I other than Ash Blossom, I primarily play hand traps or a disruptive card that are light or dark, so that I can like still utilize them if I don't need them in like a hand trap way, or if I discard them, I can still use them later. So that's why I think Bell is a more impactful card, but DD Crow works better in Dragon because it's a dark monster.
And Papega Ruler.
And Tiger roller. Yeah,
Yeah,
praise.
it's so good. Searching any hand strap you want. It's so good.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Hand chop off Pega is it's a feels good moment.
it is definitely feels good, especially when you're revealing the Biru and you're just kind of staring at him like, yep, this is a thing. So
Yeesh.
it's fun. Well, I do appreciate you coming out to the channel today, friend. We've been talking about the deck a lot, and I've known Sam for such a long time, so it's really nice to see when people do really well, and he always overperforms with this, or like even with Striker, I've seen him do actually just phenomenal with. So I do appreciate you stopping by today.
Oh, thank you. Do you mind if I do a few shout outs?
Absolutely.
Shout outs to Eternal Games and Sunny. Yeah, he's best vendor ever. He always hooks me up. Again, shout out to Fun for All, store in Ann Arbor. Love that place. Shout out to my team, Team Pandora's Prodigies. Shout out to my beautiful girlfriend Ava. She supports me all the time. She signed one of my Seiferts actually, and I always draw the one she signed. So that one's the good luck
Awesome.
one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that and say yes, Sunny in Eternal Games is an amazing vendor. He just always has whatever you need. It's amazing. I've hit him up several times for cards on the fly, so definitely a great guy. Again, though, if you are new here, feel free to subscribe. We are right around the corner from 10,000 subscribers. We are less than 300 away. Very exciting. If you want to join my Discord, my Twitch, my Twitter, everything's in the description below. And also, if you're looking for a session on Metafy, feel free to hit me up on Discord, and we'll talk about this session for you. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful night, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks, Sam.
No problem. Bye.